Hi there, this is a teaching coming to you from the Training Place of Excellence, and it's a teaching on accruals. Accruals are amounts outstanding for payment by the end of an accounting period, so has not been entered into the ledgers. That is to say, you're owing some money. In accounting for accruals, the effect that needs to occur will be to increase the relevant expenditure in an attempt to account for the outstanding transactions which may not have been paid for, and then to increase the liability in the accounting period, recognizing that the business owes that amount. That is to say, I haven't paid yet. So the expense is not in my account. But under the accrual concept, we need to make sure that we recognize all our income when it is earned and all our expenses when it is incurred, not necessarily when it is paid. So I have not paid for that invoice. I have not received the invoice. I haven't got anything on that expense in my accounts. And I want to make sure that I have everything that relates to that expense in my accounts. As long as I have incurred the expense, you need to recognize it in your accounts, and hence the accruals comes into place, or also known as accrued expenses. What will be your double entry? You will debit expense account, so whichever expense, the relevant expense account, which will be in the profit and loss account, and you credit accruals account, which goes into the statement of financial position, which is also known as your balance sheet. In some cases, we would look at an exercise and see how we put life to an item of an accrual. It says to us, you are working on the accounting records of a business for the year ended 31st of January 20x7. You are looking at the business rates expense for the year, and this shows payments for the following periods. Remember, your year end is January x7. Very vital. You need to always connect with when is my year end and what period have you paid for. Have you paid up to the end of the year? Then fine, no adjustments are needed. Oh, I haven't paid up to the end of the year. But of course, you'll be using that premises all the way through the year. That then means you must have an expense in your account for business rates up to the end of the year fully, whether you have paid for it or not yet paid for it. The portion that you have not yet paid for becomes your accrual. So let's see. Remembering my year end is January. The first office, it says to me February to September X6. September X6. So I have to go all the way to January X7. So there are a few months there that you have not yet paid for. Those months you will need to raise an accrual for. February to December X6. I need to go up to January X7. So there is still a 1 month portion that you have not yet paid for. It says to you, calculate the value of the adjustment required for the business rates account as at 31st of January X7 and show the journal entry needed for the relevant adjustment. In this case, the relevant adjustment will be an accrual that you will need to raise. So we've got there February to September. We need to count how many months are between February up to September. And that I make as 8 months. So for 8 months, you have paid £980. I then need to make up what are the sets of months that will take me to January X7 the next year. So that will be from October to January. And I need to calculate how much will that then be for. So from October So January, you have 4 months. So you'll be required to do £980 has been paid for 8 months. You still have another 4 months yet to be paid, and that will be £490. And I also have February to December. You need to count how many months fall into February to December, and I make that 11 months. And I also take us to January X7. That's 1 month is outstanding. So you have paid £1,054 for 11 months. And I have 1 month missing. So I need to raise an accrual for £95 for the second office. So altogether, I need to raise an accrual for £585. I have to identify what will be my adjustment in my account. In order to raise an adjustment for £585, I then need to ask myself, what does this thing relate to? It relates to business rates that I have not yet paid. So I am owing business rates. What two accounts will be affected? Business rates account and accruals, which will be debited, which will be credited. You know your expense has to be debited and the accruals account has to be credited with the relevant amount of £585. So we debit business rates, we credit accruals. Remember, accruals is a liability in your hands. And if it is increasing, I have not yet paid, I have not paid, I have not paid, you are owing somebody. That means accruals will be a credit balance, a liability. The expense hasn't shown the full year's expense. And I want it to show the full year's expense, so I will debit the relevant expense, which is, in this case, business rates. I hope this has been useful. The rest of it is practice ongoing. Adios. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button, follow us and like us across all our social media platforms, including our blog, because on there we post relevant content that relates to accounts. Let's keep working hard. Let's keep studying. See you later.